Do you know what it is that the Swedish Navy fears more than anything? Is it nuclear war, Captain Johnny Kraken, or maybe it's this? No, none of the above. What the Swedish Navy fears most is actually fish farts. And you're probably thinking, come on, that's ridiculous. But there's more to the story than you might think. You see, during the Cold War, the Soviet Union had a nasty habit of sending their submarines awfully close to Swedish waters. This was, of course, extremely dangerous as these were nuclear-powered submarines, and if one were to, say, explode, then Sweden would be in big trouble. So naturally, Sweden began investing in ways to detect these Soviet submarines before they could do any damage. And wouldn't you know it, they ended up creating a detection system that could sense even the most minute disturbances in the water, like the kind you'd expect from a farting fish. But that's not all. They also created self-destruct helmets for their divers, and even came up with a plan to lure Soviet subs into a false sense of security by making it seem like Sweden had these crazy powerful sonar systems that could detect them from miles away, when in reality their sonar systems were about as effective as a blind man's X-ray. But despite all of these precautions, the Swedish Navy still couldn't figure out how to detect Soviet submarines. That is until one day when someone had the brilliant idea of, I don't know, listening to some underwater microphones. This led to the development of an underwater microphone array that could listen for the telltale sounds of approaching Soviet submarines. Of course, this was easier said than done since the Baltic Sea is full of ambient noise from things like crashing waves, wind and rain, not to mention the constant stream of fish farts. These farts, you see, were a huge problem because they sounded an awful lot like the telltale pings of a Soviet sub. In fact, it got so bad that at one point they had to turn off all of their underwater microphones just to listen to the farts. To make matters worse, the fish seemed to fart worse whenever there was a storm, which led the Swedish Navy to believe that the Soviets had somehow weaponized the weather to produce extra-large farts. Now, despite all of this, the Swedish Navy did eventually manage to detect a few Soviet subs, but that's a story for another time. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and watch another.